Hello everyone and welcome to the finals of the Freestyle Chess Go-To Challenge 2024. It is Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces versus Magnus Carlsen, and I find it very interesting that we have the four seasoned players versus the four young players, and in the end we again have Fabiano Caruana versus Magnus Carlsen, the duo that already played the World Chess Championship match in classical chess. If you remove opening theory from chess, a question might arise: who does it favor, the younger generation or the older one? And you might think, okay, it could also favor the younger generation, but no, you remove the opening theory, it again favors the older generation. And yes, Fabi and Magnus are now considered the older generation. But let's check it out. A very exciting game. Fabi with the white pieces opens with pawn to d4, and the position is a pretty weird one. The bishops on c1 and d1, rooks on e1 and a1, the knight duo on the f1 and g1 squares, the queen on h1. So the queen's already attacking the opposite kings. We have pawn to g6. Magnus goes for the d4 pawn right away, and Fabi defends it. Knight to f3. We have pawn to d6, pawn to e4, and now pawn to e5. It'd be if you try something like bishop g4, you attack the knight, hope to win the pawn. Already after e5, the position is quite bad for black. There's not an easy way to handle this. Like, for example, you play e6, already captures, and knight to e3, attacks the bishop, and you have to make the unpleasant choice of either playing f5, which just looks weird, or you capture and then you allow this bishop this long diagonal. So instead, of course, Magnus goes pawn to e5. We have d captures. Advancing the pawn is also fine. And Magnus decides to capture. We have d captures, and now pawn to b3, preparing bishop to b2 to go after the e5 pawn. We have knight to f6, and now bishop to b2. Knight seeks to d7. We have bishop to e2, and now pawn to f6. So just making the position as solid as possible. And this is quite crucial in chess 960 because you don't know what the position hides. You don't know what lurks in the position. You just might, you think you're having a nice calm walk, and you fall into a pit full of whatever. Yeah, it's very important to consolidate as soon as possible. Knight to e3, and now bishop to e7. And if you're wondering what the engine says about the position, the engine says, okay, it's perfectly equal from the starting position up until this point. And here, Fabi has to make a choice. He can castle kingside, and he can castle queenside. Now, castling kingside would be a little bit weird here, because look at this position. Imagine it's a normal chess position, and you have a queen boxed in on h1. You would have to, play some moves in order to get that queen into the game. So that's not happening. So we have castles queenside by Fabi, and now knight to e6. We have queen to f1, trying to get the queen into the game somehow, and queen to f8. Magnus does the same. So of course now, as Fabi has a fianchettoed queenside, he wants to play bishop to e3 and trade off the dark square bishops. We have bishop to c4. Now comes knight to b6, attacking the bishop, and knight to d5. Now this seems like a good deal, capturing on c4. The problem is, if you capture on c4 and queen captures, there is no good way to continue. You could go for something like bishop to c5, put pressure on the pawn, let's say rook e2 defending, and now a5 with a4 and trying to go after the king, but then rooks double up on the d file, and it's a really hard position to evaluate. Players are not interested in investing so much time into possibilities in chess 960, it would seem. So bishop to a3, we have bishop captures, queen captures with check, and now king to b1. And here, another very interesting position. How do you continue this position? Let's say you play something like knight c5. Okay, you want to bring more pieces into the attack. You want to bust open the position with a5, a4. Rook to e3. Let's say knight captures on d5. E captures on d5, rook to d8, and now knight to d2, preparing to move the bishop and chase away the queen with knight to c4. Let's say pawn to a5, bishop to e2, and now you advance the pawn to a4. Already it is white who's winning. So it's very hard to actually create something here with black. Where knight c4, queen b4, and now pawn to a3, you have to move away the queen, queen b5, and now knight captures on e5. Opens up a discovery, you move the queen again, the knight attacks the queen, you move the queen again, and then b4. So you stop black's queenside attack, you want a pawn, your position is just winning. So you have to be very, very careful here. And Magnus, in fact, plays the strongest move recommended by the engine, and that is queen to f8. The other one that the engine recommends is rook to f8, just preparing pawn to f5, but queen to f8 also very strong. Pawn to a4 now, and pawn to c6, chasing away the knight, offering a trade of knights. Knight captures on b6, a captures, and here bishop captures on e6. And here comes a moment in the game where you could just play a normal move, or you could play a seemingly move that will allow you to play for the win. Now Magnus instantly recaptured with bishop captures on e6, and he had 50 minutes on the clock. It's not really a matter of that, but it just seems like such a normal move. You develop the bishop, you attack the white king, but rook captures on e6 is the way to go. And the idea of this is that how do you continue now with white? One of the key ideas that white had in this position is to play queen to d3 and queen to d3 and queen to d6 with a queen trade. But the rook on e6 prevents that, and there's nothing better you can do. Queen to d3 is a fine developing move, but now you play b5. And now look at some possibilities. If you capture on with a captures on b5, then you can just recapture. And now if queen captures, queen a3, and you're getting checkmated. There's nothing you can do here. And even if you don't capture on b5, you could play queen to c3, then the rook from e6 is shifted to a6, and again you will have problems. The queen can come to a3, or even something like rook to a2 followed by queen to a3. You will get a checkmating attack, and this is winning for black. So instead, after b5, you will have to play some weird move like queen to d8, offer a queen trade, but of course black will decline, and now black is definitely playing for the win here. You know, maybe white can save this with some, you know, super impressive engine moves like rook to d7, but still very hard to play. So instead, after bishop captures on e6, Magnus played bishop captures on e6, spent really no time at all on this, and now queen to d3. King to c7, stopping again the trade of queens with queen to d6, and now queen to c3. We have queen to c5, offering a queen of queens, but unfavorable terms. If you trade, then b4 will be prevented. So rook to e3, defending the queen, and now rook e to d8. We have a trade here, rook captures, and now king to b2, nicely defending the queen, and Magnus goes for rook to d1. Now this is a very annoying rook. Of course, you do not want it there at all, so you have to kick it away, rook to e1, but now rook back to d8, and Fabi played rook to e3, and as soon as Fabi brought the rook back to e3, we all knew what was happening and what was the idea here. Magnus looked at the position a little bit, and then he repeated rook to d1, rook to e1, and rook to d8, and he was in this position on move 25 that the players agreed to a draw, as there is nothing more to be done here, or rather it was a draw by threefold repetition. So really interesting game with a really interesting position. I find it interesting also that you know, tomorrow we don't get the exact same position of chess 960 only with colors reversed, because that would not be fair, as one of the players could have time to you know, work something out, which is not a problem in regular chess because everything has already been worked out. There is opening theory, but here if you know, it was the exact same position tomorrow, then Magnus would have a huge edge with the white pieces if he could actually practice some openings in this line of the chess 960. So we're gonna have a completely different starting position tomorrow, and Magnus will be the one having the white pieces. Now you could continue the game here, but there's not much to even try here. For example, okay, let's get the queens get traded off, because that will happen. Let's say a5, you stop b6 or b5. Now let's say bishop g4, trying to mess up the pawn structure, knight g1, maybe preparing f3, now b6, you know, pawns get traded off, and king to c3. Not much to try in this position. You could go for some wizardry with pawn to c4, because if king captures, then you have rook d2, or you know, get rid of your doubled pawn. But still, it's not much. So Magnus is very happy with a draw with the black pieces. He will look for winning chances with white tomorrow, but he will definitely be very, very sorry when he figures out after he analyzes the game that here rook captures on e6. You know, with him wielding the black pieces would probably have been a winning position for black. back. But yeah, it's just a move not easy to consider. You know, rook to e6, rook to a6. How does this happen? Well, with pawn to b5. But yeah, very nicely done. We'll see what happens tomorrow when Magnus will have the white pieces. So, you know, stay tuned for that. I would like to thank Robert Tarathun, Alexandru Gita, David Gasparian, Kevin Hawkins, and B4 Forever for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.